Task Force is now recommending that kids get screened for anxiety as early as age 8 and that depression as early as age 12.
The new guidance applies even if the child is not showing signs or symptoms of a mental health problem. Dr. Sue Varma joins us now. She's a board-certified psychiatrist and an assistant professor at the NYU Langone Medical Center. Dr. Varma, always good to have you with us. So, these screenings for kids, they're not meant to diagnose a child, but instead help identify those who may need extra support. Help us understand, why is early detection so crucial?
Early detection and prevention is the name of the game, simply because we have too many people, too many children suffering. And we know that the consequences of untreated mental health issues leads to anxiety, depression, suicide, even obesity, and chronic medical problems such as diabetes and hypertension. So we want to be able to catch it early, not to pathologize, not to stigmatize, not to deter people from seeking treatment, but actually quite the opposite, because even a few sessions of therapy can make a huge impact in a child's life.
And Dr. Varma, a new study is also showing that strict parenting may actually increase a child's risk of depression. So how can behavior, like physical punishment, psychological manipulation, how can that sort of change a child's DNA?
Absolutely. So, this brings in the concept of epigenetics, which is basically how does behavior and environment modify our genetic makeup. So while stress in the environment, such as physical punishment, psychological manipulation, doesn't actually change the genetics, it changes how our genes are expressed, specifically by something called methylation, which is adding a chemical compound to the genes and shutting them off and turning some of them on, which is a marker for increased depression later in life.
Yeah, this study really touches on the long-standing debate between nature versus nurture. So which one is ultimately more powerful when it comes to really determining a child's mental well-being?
Both, because we learned that epigenetics is the interaction. So while a person might be at risk or predisposed, if they were never actually exposed to certain threats or harm in the environment, those genes for depression may never actually be expressed. So that's why it's so important that we have supportive and nurturing environments, because the idea of adverse childhood risk, it refers to neglect, abuse, it could be substance abuse in the family, it could be untreated mental health issues in the family, it could be incarceration, it could be domestic violence. So any sort of childhood stress or trauma, including this punitive parenting style, can lead to increased psychological problems later in life. But really, it is the interplay. That's why good habit, movement, mindfulness, self-compassion, ridding the child of guilt and shame, and instead being validating, supporting force in their life can have a huge impact. Behavior and environment has a huge influence on our genetics.
And Dr. Varma, when we look at sort of this constellation of data points that we've discussed today, what's sort of the big takeaway for parents to keep in mind?
Yes, so it's so important to give your child structure, routine, and support, but also keep in mind that children are so overscheduled these days, and the academic pressure and the sports pressure and social media demands to keep up with society. There's a lot going on. Be gentle. Parents, take care of your own mental health and allow kids to be kids. Allow them to play.
All right, Dr. Sue Varma for us there. Dr. Varma, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your expertise. Well, speaking of health,